Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about why I believe we need the zodiac sign Aquarius in our lives. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Well, anyway, first off, Aquarius, of course, could be very ingenious. They have strong ingenuity often. I've talked about before how I believe actors and actresses can often consciously, if not subconsciously, be drawn to roles that correspond with their astrological energies. I think actor William Shatner, Aquarius rising, certainly no exception. I remember one episode of Star Trek, he made this improvised weapon. He had like a cannon and found a projectile to defeat this lizard man and emerge victorious. In that battle, you've seen MacGyver, who has Aquarius Sun, the original MacGyver series, Richard Dean Anderson, Aquarius Sun, um, obviously had improvised a lot on that show to outmaneuver situations. A lot of that was flavored with his Gemini rising, of course. Anyway, another reason why I think we need Aquarius in our lives, because they can inspire us to do the audacious things that a lot of people would simply not have the courage or audacity to do. We look at Nick Wallenda, Aquarius Sun. If I'm not mistaken, he was like the first person to tightrope over the Grand Canyon with no netting. Now, a lot of people will not have that, really that ability or that I don't know if you want to say courage, the audacity, the will to do something that would be so unconventional, so unorthodox. But Aquarius will often find a way to do it. Houdini, according to one source, has Aquarius rising. I don't know what the rating was on it, but he was certainly someone that would find ways to extricate himself from very tight, tough situations. That took a lot of courage and really doing something that a lot of people would not dare to do. Also, too, another reason why I believe we need Aquarius is because of their humanitarian instincts. You look at the late Steve McNair, Aquarius Sun. He was a former NFL player. If I'm not mistaken, he helped the victims of Hurricane Katrina at that time, shortly after the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, I believe. And you look at and they're also about selflessness to Aquarius. You look at Phil Collins. He's a singer. He has an Aquarius Sun. In one song he sang something like, "You can't take it with you when you go. I'd rather leave it." They're not. Aquarians are often not about hoarding things or holding on to things for themselves. They're often about giving and leaving things for others that could be less fortunate. So, anyway, another reason why I believe we need Aquarius is because of their consideration. Now, it could just be very simple things like being very quiet, unobtrusive neighbor or a roommate. They're often not the ones that are going to blast their music when people are trying to sleep or just live their lives comfortably. They're the type that will call you often before coming over to your house. They're generally not going to just knock on your door and arrive unexpectedly. They're the ones, covering their mouth when they're coughing. That's just basic consideration rules that they often adhere to, they follow, and that's why we need them in our lives, I believe, as well. Also, too, another reason why I believe we need Aquarius is because they can often speak in a very clear and perspicacious manner. They're readily understood. And they could often help others articulate their words and sentences. They could often articulate new ideas and concepts very well that others may have a little more difficulty in doing because they are very cerebral, very verbal. Remember that Uranus is one of the rulers of Aquarius. It's the higher octave of Mercury. So Aquarius can be very intelligent. I do see Aquarius as the smartest zodiac sign on average. And again, they're often very ingenious and innovative. Now, another thing about Aquarius, too, why I believe we need them is because they could be very future-oriented and progressive. They're often more concerned about tomorrow, not lamenting over yesterday. They are the ones that will be thinking ahead, because a lot of times when we ruminate, we lament over things in the past. We get caught up in the past, reminiscing about those things, and it often prohibits us from moving forward. Now, Another thing too is that I think with Aquarius, why we need them, I think we would have fewer proficient astrologers, astronomers, people in aerospace, rocket science, things fewer people good in electronics or computers, if it was, and innovators, if it wasn't for Aquarius. So that is another reason why I believe we need the zodiac sign Aquarius. Now, another thing is they could be sometimes it's good to have a little bit of that spontaneity and unpredictability in our lives, and sometimes it could be to our detriment. Depends on how you look at it, though, and depends on what it is the person is actually doing that's unpredictable. I had a Aquarius rising friend one time. Instead of just driving into the parking lot in a conventional manner, he drove up the grass hill, did a very unconventional, very prototypical Aquarius energy, and he really surprised me. But I look back on it, it really was very humorous. It was one of the most shocking moments I'd ever experienced with a friend. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. Another thing too is that, I mean, you look at Aquarius, they can often have that universal friend syndrome. They generally don't know too many strangers. They make friends very easily. They're good people to be around. They could be the consummate or quintessential friend, and often encourage others to make friendships and expand on their connections. Remember that in a solar or natal chart, the zodiac sign Sagittarius often falls on the 11th house cusp for Aquarius. So it's about expansion of friends. They often are about expanding their friends, and they express a lot of exuberance and enthusiasm with these people, and often very expansive in that area of their lives. So anyway, also too, another reason why I believe we may need Aquarius is because they often have the non-conforming nature. May not always be good, but a lot of times perhaps it can be, because what they basically will say in their own way is that, you know, we don't always have to do what everyone else is doing just because the majority is doing it. We don't always have to be sheep. We could be trendsetters. It could be like a person that I was reading something online one time about how we're going to be maybe able to use Windows as a screen for a computer, like a monitor for the computer at some point in time. And I'm not saying an Aquarius came up with that idea, but the point I'm making is that's an example of Aquarius-like energy. The fact that we can move ahead, be progressive. We don't always have to be stagnant and stuck in the old rut and on the way of doing things. And last but not least, another reason I think we need Aquarius in our lives often is because they often exhibit very prodigious, strong friendliness, very amicable and amiable energy. They can make our days go by quicker, and because they could be very interesting people, because they could talk about a plethora of new ideas and concepts, be able to articulate them very well. Generally, things aren't going to be monotonous around Aquarius, and a lot of times the only thing predictable about them is the fact they're simply unpredictable. And again, they have that very genuine, authentic, ingenuous, friendly energy that can be very contagious, and they can inspire us to be friendly toward others and to expand upon our friendships. So I think that's another reason why I do believe we need the zodiac sign Aquarius in our lives. So anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment as for why I believe we need Aquarius. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about why I believe we need Pisces. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.